Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Season 6 Episode 5 video, basically a Cisco episode. It's been a while since we've had that, but Danny Trejo was back. I'm a huge fan of his, there was a whole bunch of Easter eggs, and they've actually got a big schedule change in the Flash episodes that I'll explain during the video. We also found out when they're going to be dropping the first official Crisis on Infinite Earths trailer, so I'll talk about that at the end of the video after this episode. I'm doing a Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite moment from the episode on the video. So just careful for spoilers if you have not seen the episode yet. But top 10 WTF and Easter eggs. So starting with number 10, the opening scene. So if you weren't sure what was going on here, they cut the episode starting in black and white because it was meant to be in the style of a noir detective thriller, and typically stories like that end with a big moment like this at the end of the story, then rewind to show you how they got to that moment. If you're super interested in stuff like that, it's called a French reverse. People do it all the time in Hollywood. Cisco narrating the episode at the beginning is also a trope of detective thriller stories. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't do the entire episode in black and white, even though that was kind of a cool trick at the beginning. The whole concept of the episode is Iris and Barry are going on vacation. Even Caitlin wasn't in the episode that much because Danielle Panabaker said that she was actually prepping for a future episode that she was directing. So they kind of wrote her out of this episode, even though it seemed like she had a pretty meaningful storyline. Cisco and Elongated Man tell a couple jokes about the A-Team. Cisco's a huge fan. Apparently Elongated Man also grew up watching a ton of A-Team. Then number 9, they introduced Cisco's algorithm, the Barry, spelled with an I. It's mostly for comedy. It was kind of a weird device during the episode, like it took a while for Cisco to remember that he's actually capable of making decisions by himself. Mostly I just chalk that up to trauma that he hasn't dealt with about the idea of losing Barry, so I blamed Cisco making bad decisions early in the episode on that, if you wondered why he was acting kind of stupid for a little while. But the whole joke of the algorithm is really that it knows Barry better than he knows himself. Like they tested, oh yeah, bananas is what I really like on my breakfast in the morning. But it knows that his favorite movie is really Jurassic Park when he's actually been telling people that it's been Empire Strikes Back for his entire life. They also kind of tried to make fun of the algorithm for being bad during the episode, even though it does get a couple things right at the beginning. It's mostly a joke on the idea of Facebook and Google, YouTube algorithms being really terrible. Like the whole idea of putting your faith in an algorithm is really, really bad because it's only going to ultimately let you down. Speaking of which, number 8, everybody take a drink for every time someone says faith during the episode. This is more of a WTF, why did they do that during the episode? Because I feel like a lot of this could have been subtext, and it's not subtext when characters are speaking their intentions directly to each other. You don't need to have characters in every single storyline repeat the word faith over and over again. Just the first couple of times, then people will get it. You believe in yourself. You don't have to keep repeating that word. Number 7, Joe versus Nash Wells. This is actually cool because it's been a while since we've had a Wells and Joe scene in a long, long time. Remember way back during season 1, that was some of the best moments early on, just them sort of standing off with each other, because even before they'd revealed that this Harrison Wells was secretly Reverse Flash, Joe was kind of on to him with his sixth sense as a detective. Joe also has all kinds of jokes about that too. Anytime a Harrison Wells shows up, you know trouble's right around the corner. It's always going to be bad. So I've been tailing you since you got here. He almost winds up revealing some secrets about the monitor that are stored on his gauntlet before Elongated Man saves them. But by the end of the episode, he does agree to help them. I have something that can save Barry Allen, so I'll talk about that in a second too. It's just part of the idea that Nash Wells is starting to be more of a team member heading into Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's what this is all about, because he's a pariah, quote unquote, so to speak, and I think that they'll eventually turn him into comic book pariah. But the whole idea is they all have to band together because the anti-monitor is going to be so terrible that you can't do anything by yourself during Crisis. Number 6, welcome back Danny Trejo. It's always awesome to see him on the show. Some of his episodes are better than others. It just depends on how much you like the kind of comedy that they write for him. They give him some good one-liners, but I do like his physical comedy a little bit more, like when he's really trying to go after Cisco. The other thing about this scene too when he shows up is that you actually see Cisco basically has a little kid's bedroom. There's just toys everywhere. He has cats all over his sheets. I think we've been in Cisco's bedroom at least once or twice before, but you always kind of look in the background to see what kind of toys that he has. He drops a Sweeney Todd reference and they sort of set up the idea of the fake sleepwalking that he's been doing, faking breach psychosis. I also kind of loved how quickly Breacher got on board with that, like, oh yeah, people lose their powers all the time, but aren't you thinking about this terrible problem that that's going to create? Number 5, R.I.P. Gypsy. I wasn't sure whether or not they were gonna let this stick by the end of the episode, or if it was gonna be some surprise twist and she'd be alive on some other Earth. But I think part of the reason for killing her off is because Jessica Camacho, the actress that plays Gypsy, is a series regular on another TV show and just really unavailable to come star in Flash episodes. So they usually only use twists like this if they're not going to be able to bring the character back anytime soon. But because it's a multiverse and this whole episode traded on multiverse tropes, if she were ever able to come back in a future season or a future episode, they could always bring back an alternate Earth version of the character. Number 4, Frost versus Ramsey Rosa. So this is all about people not trusting other people, having faith in other people, and that kind of bled into Killer Frost's storyline. I did like Elongated Man's name drop of the Jingold soda. Because Jingold was the way he got his powers in the comics, every once in a while they'll try to work it into his dialogue. And they're also using this storyline to set up the Sue Dibney storyline. Elongated Man was the most fantastic detective during the episode. He was always one step ahead of all the other Team Flash members. They're just setting up the idea that he's really good at tracking people down and following clues, so when it comes time to actually track down Sue Dibney and they want to debut that character on the show, all of his detective work will make a lot more sense. I did think it was kind of weird when Cisco went with Camilla to the crime scene, but I guess she's a photographer, so maybe she's been in situations like this before. All the Earth-19 collectors are kind of terrible to Cisco, but a lot of detective stories are like that just to mislead you and make you think that they might be suspects. Like even Cisco says, who would stand to gain from her going away? He falsely starts to suspect the person that was really mean to him before he figures it out. Number 3, Cisco and Breacher watch a version of Cisco kill Gypsy. Now, we found out what was really going on at the end of the episode, but I did like the twist. It's kind of terrible because you have to watch this character that you like so much die, but then it turns on a dime the minute he unfurls his hood and Breacher just jumps on Cisco, like that's the end of it. Breacher kind of tries to throw you off the scent of alternate Ciscos when he says, all the rest of you are just pencil pushers, you're the only one that's a scientist. But number 2, Cisco versus himself, Cisco versus Echo. Neither one of them is a great fighter, so the fight itself wasn't that great. It was kind of funny that they put a really scary, angry music track on top of it to make it seem like it was a really badass fight, but really Cisco's whole thing isn't that he's a good fighter. That's not why you bring him to a fight. It's because he can open wormholes, or at least he could when he's still at his powers. He created the little breach devices so they can still use those, and he is one of the smarter members of Team Flash, so that's really where he contributes now. But it sounds like when he talks about healing at the end of the episode, that's them putting him on the path to getting his powers back, because in this crisis scene in the future, he is running around in his Vibe costume. A lot of you probably figured out what was going on at the beginning of the episode the minute that they said that the villain was named Echo, because all of Cisco's alternate versions have names based on musical terms or things describing sound. Vibe, reverb, echo. If we meet other alternate Ciscos in future episodes or future seasons, they'll also probably have some other musical sounding name. They also remind you at the end of the episode that Chester P. Runk is still on that device baking, reminding you that they're planning on paying off that storyline. Remember, his big thing is opening black holes, which are really useful for getting rid of things like trash. Like, it's a really good way of getting rid of the Bloodwork villain if they can't find a way to defeat him. So maybe they'll wind up throwing him into a black hole before the big Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. But number 1, Nash Wells sort of turns around on being a team player and invites Team Flash down to the sewers in the next episode. He says next week, but there's actually no Flash episode next week, so it's going to be episode 6. Saying that he has something that can save Barry Allen, and that probably has something to do with the Monitor and the Eternium that he's trying to hunt down. They're doing kind of a James Bond thing in the next episode. They're bringing the Ultraviolet villain back from the first couple of episodes. Remember, that's also a black hole Easter egg from the Flash Rebirth comics, which I think is going to turn into a bigger thing in the back half of the season. We haven't seen a whole lot from the Black Hole organization so far yet, and we're getting really close to Crisis on Infinite Earths. But like I said, there is no new episode next week as I'm posting this video. The next episode is going to be on Tuesday the 19th. As for when they're going to drop the first big Crisis on Infinite Earths trailer, usually that happens when the shows come back from their short little break. So remember, 2 weeks for the next episode, that's when we'll see the first big official crossover trailer. Hopefully they'll work Tom Welling into that, but I'm not expecting him to be in the trailer. Most of that first trailer just winds up being from the first episode or two. They don't put too much footage in it, but as soon as they drop it, of course I'll do a video for it. What's going to happen next week, though, is that Star Wars The Mandalorian Episode 1 is going to be released on Tuesday. I will do a video for that for all the episodes. This is the full schedule for all the Mandalorian episodes on Disney+. Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 1 is also dropping next week, so I'll be doing weekly videos for both of those things. So as long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all the videos when I post them, no worries. But everybody, click here for the Rick and Morty Season 4 trailer, and click here for my teaser video for the Green Lantern HBO series that they're going to start making next year. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.